It has been a remarkable 24 hours in northern Wisconsin where 13-year-old Jamie Kloss was found alive 88 days after she disappeared. Good afternoon, everyone. We are learning more about where she's been these past 3 months.
Police say Jamie was abducted on October 15th after both of her parents were murdered and held against her will, and a suspect is in custody. The Barron County Sheriff is holding his second news briefing of the day. Let's listen in.
Justin Taylor-Mayo, Brian O'Keefe from the Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation, and U.S. Attorney for the Western District, Scott Blader. This is where the investigation stands at this afternoon. Jamie was reunited with her aunt at the hospital this afternoon. She will also be reunited later this evening with the rest of her family. She is doing as well as circumstances allow. I have not personally seen or spoken with her yet, which I am anxious to do. Right now, we are going to let her settle in and reconnect with her loved ones. Here are some facts on the case that we can share. But again, we will not be releasing any information that puts more stress on Jamie or jeopardizes this case. We have recovered a gun consistent with what was used at the scene of the initial homicide. However, we will have to wait for confirmation that it was indeed the same weapon after examination by the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. The gun used at the scene on the night of the incident was a shotgun. The shotgun was also used to shoot open the door at the Kloss home on the night of the incident. The door of the Kloss home was not kicked in. With regard to the suspect taking great efforts to minimize his forensic footprint at the crime scene, they include things like not leaving trace evidence by changing his physical appearance, like shaving his head not to leave hair behind. We again will not be making any more comments about this to protect the integrity of the case. At this time, nothing in this case shows the suspect knew anyone at the Kloss home or at any time had contact with anyone in the Kloss family. The suspect had specific intentions to kidnap Jamie and went to great lengths to prepare to take her. The suspect did work at the Jennie-O turkey plant over 3 years ago for less than 2 days and does not appear to have any contact, did not have any contact with Jamie's parents, who also worked at the turkey plant. We also know now that the suspect was not at home when Jamie escaped. While I don't know how she escaped at this time, we believe that the suspect was out looking for her when law enforcement made contact with him. On Monday, January 14th, so Monday this coming week, at 3:30 p.m., the suspect will make his initial appearance in Barron County Circuit Court to be formally charged with 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and 1 count of kidnapping. I know all of you are searching for the answer to why any of this happened. Believe me, so are we. Not knowing will plague us for some time, but again, our goal is to continue to do what is right for Jamie and seek justice and seek that justice is served. At this time, I can take some questions.
Sheriff, do we know how he knew about Jamie? Was it a social media connection? Was there some obsession? There must have been at some point a connection between Jamie and this suspect, Mr. Patterson. What
I can tell you is we don't believe there was a social media connection, and we are determining how he became aware of Jamie. I do not have that answer in complete form yet to release.
Sheriff, what was the distance between the suspect's home and where Jamie approached the dog walker?
That I was not able to consider.
Give us an estimate about how far it was?
It wasn't very far. She was on foot and it wasn't very far. No, I couldn't guess that, but it was not a long distance, I was told.
What about the suspect's home? What kind of conditions was she kept in?
I don't know the answer to that. I just know there was a home in a rural setting.
Is there any evidence that she had been assaulted?
We're not releasing any evidence about Jamie's condition at this time, except she's talking and she communicated with our team up there and she was released from the hospital. I think those are all great things to talk about and to move forward with this recovery purpose. I mean, Jamie is the hero in this case. There's no question about it. And she's the one that helped us break the case, along with everybody else that worked on it, from law enforcement to all the people.
Sheriff, can you talk more about the investigation? What are you searching for? What are you searching right now? And are you retracing the steps both of them took over the last 88 days?
Yes, those are all things we're doing. We're currently serving a search warrant at the house in Gordon. We'll be there for several more hours. DCI and the FBI will be there. They're looking at every room in that house, any piece of evidence that can be used in this case, but they plan on being there for several more hours, looking at everything in the house.
Is there a property in Barron that you're also serving a search warrant?
We are not serving any search warrants in Barron County.
Sheriff, do you know if there were other people in the house at any point when Jamie was in there other than the suspect?
I do not know the answer to that question.
These last 3 months, was she aware that people have been looking for her intensely?
I do not know the answer to that question either. I haven't talked to the investigators that, they just gave us a small briefing on Jamie. They didn't give us any.
How did the suspect restrain her in the home?
Do not know the answer to that question.
Sir, how are you getting this information that he targeted her? Is this all coming from Patterson?
This is all coming from our investigative team. So,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just to be clear, though, the suspect was not home when she left.
when she escaped the home yesterday, he was not at the home.
But at some point, he would have been returned, and then you say went back out looking for her?
Well, when we had contact with him, he appeared to be out looking for her. Again, I can't comment that I haven't confirmed that answer to that question.
So when you made the arrest, he was not in the house?
That is correct. He was in his vehicle, driving around.
Did she know her parents had died?
I don't know the answer to that question. She was in the home when the incident took place.
Are there any indications that he was stalking her, that he made any contact with her, that she was aware that somebody was on the radar there?
We don't have any information that he had made any contact with anyone in the family at any time.
Do you
Sheriff,
believe
do
they
you
spent
have any idea about his whereabouts during your day, I've been able to track his patterns the last few weeks to see what he's been up to?
All I know is he was not employed, so he didn't go to a job. Other than that, that's all I know about his travel. And I know he was not at home when she escaped, and I don't know where he was.
Does it concern you that someone who doesn't have a criminal record or history would all of a sudden have this sort of violent outburst? Is there anything in the home that indicates why he made a turn in this direction?
I'm not into the criminology of that, of somebody's mind. But, you know, yeah, this case from day one has concerned me. The volatility of this crime, to shoot 2 people and kidnap a 13-year-old girl, is very concerning. And so, you know, we want to get the answers that you guys all want, that we want to give to Jamie, and we want to give to the court so that we can get a conviction.
Can you give us some perspective, Sheriff?
What has Patterson's demeanor been since he's been caught? Has he been remorseful at all?
Patterson has been in our jail without incident, in a cell, by himself.
Sheriff, are investigators on your team looking at Patterson? I know he has no criminal record. I mean, family history issues, possible.
Yes, we did
sibling,
get a tip on a sibling that has some criminal record, and our DCI and FBI teams are looking into that.
Some criminal record that seems similar, but I mean,
I didn't look at his record. That was just came in on our tip line.
Sheriff, can you speak at any more to the escape itself? Escape, the word implies that there was a lock or some type of restraint. How did she get out?
I don't know the answer to that. That's the answer that, again, I'm not looking to put pressure on Jamie or her family. We want to reunite her, and some of that information can wait until the court hearing on Monday, when more will be released in the criminal complaint, because that'll be a very detailed. But again, we want to let Jamie settle in. We want to take care of her. We've got the suspect, the only suspect we're looking for. We're not looking for any other suspects at this time. We have him in custody. We are reunited Jamie. That has been the goal of this department and this team behind me and all of the law enforcement officers out there.
Sheriff, you're saying the primary reason though he went to that home was the kidnapping. Was that his main reason for going there that night?
That is the main reason for going to that residence, we believe.
Can you tell us any more about the 911 call that came from the home that night? Are you able to glean anything that you can share with us that would give us some insight as to what happened?
No, we briefly talked about that today. That 911 call is very inaudible, and even knowing some more facts, we still can't get any information off that 911 call.
You're not
Sheriff,
looking
who
at other
owned that
suspects,
house?
but do you think other people helped him, like buy groceries or come to the home for any reason?
That's what our team is asking that question. Neighborhood canvases, family members, all of those aspects are being looked at now.
Sheriff, who owned the house?
Go ahead, Carl.
Was Patterson a lifelong resident of the Gordon area?
Yes, he went to high school up in that area. I don't know the exact high school name, but he did go to high school in that area.
And Sheriff, who owned the house that Patterson had Jamie in?
That I do not know. I meant to look that up, and I apologize for it. Yeah. I don't know that he owned that residence, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Have the parents contacted you at all?
No one has contacted our office.
Sheriff, do you have any more information about how he may have hid this from friends or family?
No, that is the key question, that why and how he hid this for 88 days.
Was there any running water, electricity in this cabin where they were staying?
I believe so.
Sheriff, was this a home or was this like a cabin type of building?
They described it to me as a home.
Do you know what's going to happen about Jamie now, long-term care, she's going to remain with family?
We're working with the Human Services Department on what placement efforts will be taken for Jamie, but right now she's been placed with her aunt.
Can you confirm where his home is and location to where the 911 call was placed after the dog walker found her? Was it 3 homes down, 4 homes down?
I never saw a map on that, so I can't comment on that, sorry.
Can you tell us his demeanor since his arrest? What he said, what his demeanor was like, or anything that he said since his arrest?
No, I can't comment on what he said during his arrest.
Is he cooperative?
He is, I can't comment on that. They don't want me to comment on his part of the case for the conviction. We're not going to comment on him.
Sheriff, do you have any reason to believe that he was stalking Jamie?
I don't know the answer to that. I know Jamie was the target. So how he was doing that is the question that we will use for the court process.
Sheriff, besides his employment at Jenny O for a couple days, did he have any other connection to the town of Barron?
That's what we're looking for right now. We believe he may have worked somewhere else, but we're trying to confirm that also right now to see if he worked somewhere else in the area.
Sheriff, why that night did he know you were home?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. So, one more?
Sheriff, did you specify that shotgun was found in this cabin or residence?
It was found, I don't know exactly where the shotgun was found, but there was a gun recovered. In fact, there was more than one gun recovered, but they believe a shotgun was used the night of the incident. They found a gun which they believe to be similar. Again, until we get some forensic database, but they did recover more than one gun at the scene, but they believe a shotgun was recovered, similar to the style used at the Kloss home.
All right, last 2 questions.
Last
Chris,
2.
is there any way that the public can help the case moving forward? Is there anything that, looking for more clues? And also, are there ways that the public can help with Jamie's recovery? Any benefit accounts that are set up?
I know of no benefit accounts for Jamie. We didn't take care of any of that from that. As far as any other clues, if anybody knew anything about the suspect, obviously we'd like to know about that. But at this time, we've not run into any roadblocks from family, friends, anybody that I'm aware of that's hindered this investigation. Our teams are still up there. Again, we have probably 30, 40 plus people still on the scene. Yes.
Sheriff, now that you have this information, now that you have Jamie, are things starting to click together in your investigation? The things that you were looking at now are making sense.
Not quite yet, because our teams haven't been back to brief us in person. A lot of this is being done by phone. Not a very good cell reception up there, or they have to leave the scene to make some cell phone receptions. And so we're getting bits and pieces from our different team leaders here, our different administrators. So again, thank you. Again, Monday would be a key court hearing. Oh, there is a tip line set up for recovery and help. If you're struggling with this, your kids are struggling with this, it's 211. So you can set up 211. We'll post that information on our Facebook page along with information from this press conference. So thank you guys for coming. We don't plan any more press briefings. We will, if we need to be.
As Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald giving us an update on the Jamie Kloss situation. Not a lot of new information. They did recover the gun they believe was used in the murder of Jamie's parents.
But the big questions are still lingering out there about how Jamie escaped, how she was detained in the suspect Jake Patterson's house. Also the connection between the two.
They still are not sending that out.
The sheriff is saying that Jamie was targeted, but no information on how and why she was targeted. So a lot of questions remain, but today is just a day of celebration that she is safe and she is with her family.
She's with her family. She's with her aunt. We learned that information as well. And Jamie Kloss was found in Gordon, Wisconsin. That's up in Douglas County, about an hour north of Barron, and that's where our Keely Arthur has spent the day looking into the suspect's background. Keely.
That's right. We are just outside the neighborhood where Jamie Kloss was held captive for 90 days. Now, this is Gordon, Wisconsin, about 4.5 hours north of Madison and an hour north of Barron, where she was abducted. Of course, the search for her ended yesterday at around 5 p.m. when Jamie, described as very thin with matted hair, approached a woman out walking her dog. Immediately, that woman recognized her, brought her to a nearby home, and that's when police were called.
Absolutely knew it was her. We've seen her picture a million times around here. She looked exactly the same as she did in her picture, a little bit thinner, I would say. And then she looked really tired and like she's been fighting a battle for weeks.
As we now know, police said Jamie was held captive by 21-year-old Jake Patterson, but why he took her is unclear, and the connection as to how one another knew each other, or if they even knew each other before she was abducted, is unknown right now. Patterson is now in police custody on kidnapping and homicide charges. Police believe he killed Jamie's parents back in October before taking Jamie, but little else is known about him. He has no criminal record in this state. He's described as quiet and smart, but also as a troublemaker by some of the people who knew him. And the FBI, DCI, and other authorities are here right now inside the neighborhood, inside the home where Jamie was trapped for 3 months. They're peeling through every room, trying to find more details as to how this happened, why this happened. We will be here live on News 3 at 5 and 6. Back to you.
All right, Keely Arthur reporting live from Gordon. Keely, thank you so much.
The question is still why. Well, there's more news today. When we come back, the latest on the government shutdown. Stay with us.
The links
Welcome back. A Madison man is sentenced for the Midvale Boulevard crash that killed a man last April.
20-year-old Benjamin Cortez will serve 7 years in prison for the crash that killed Greg Namitz last April 27th and severely injured his wife Patty as they walked their dog. Police said he was traveling over 100 miles per hour when he lost control of his car. He pleaded guilty to second-degree reckless homicide, first offense operating while intoxicated, and several other charges were dismissed.
I would like to express how sorry I am for this tragic accident that I have caused. I am truly sorry for hurting your loved ones.
Nothing can be replaced, Greg. I see Patty in the crowd, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife. She's doing remarkably well. How she got through all this, I would never know.
Patty Namitz spent months recovering from her severe injuries. Their dog Zeke avoided injury. Cortez was also sentenced to 5 years extended supervision.
A 43-year-old Franklin man, that's a Milwaukee suburb, has been arrested for murder in connection with an investigation in Walworth County. Police discovered the remains of 2 people in a burn pit on a farm near East Troy last night. The suspect was leasing the property. The suspect's name has not been released, although the Walworth sheriff says he is a business owner. They're also trying to identify the 2 people found dead.
Hundreds of thousands of federal workers are not getting their paychecks today. President Trump hosted a roundtable on border security with state and local authorities this afternoon. The partial government shutdown is now 3 weeks old, and tomorrow it will become the longest in U.S. history. Neither congressional Democrats nor the president appear ready to make a deal.
800,000 federal employees and all American citizens are held hostage. When do we come together and say enough?
We need to push pause on requesting specific conditions before talks resume. We need to lay down our swords.
This afternoon, the House joined the Senate in voting to ensure federal employees receive back pay once the shutdown ends. About half of federal workers who aren't getting paychecks, like those who guard the border and TSA employees, remain on the job.
It has been 2 weeks since a woman in a vegetative state gave birth at an Arizona nursing home. Today, police released a recording of a 911 call made from the facility the night it happened.
Doing CPR on the baby.
Okay, good. Just keep going with that. And how's the mom doing?
Looks like she's doing well. We had no idea this person was pregnant. We had no idea this patient was pregnant.
Police have issued warrants to collect DNA samples from all male staffers at the Hacienda facility. The 29-year-old victim had been in a vegetative state for more than a decade after a near drowning. She and her child are now being cared for at the hospital. The woman's parents have said they intend to raise the baby.
The market stumbled a bit on Wall Street today because of falling energy shares. The Dow Industrials gave up almost 6 points, ending the week at 23,995. The NASDAQ Composite Index fell 15, and the S&P 500 was off fractionally.
And we'll be right back with more Live at 4. Stay with us. Take a look at this. Check out this seemingly ordinary black and white sculpture. As you start making your way around the piece of art, it suddenly transforms into a colorful snake wrapped around planet Earth. His other artwork transforms from a yoga pose into a colorful DNA stand. Playing with perspective, French artist Matthew Robert Ortis, who only started showing his work a few years ago, creates the impression of metamorphosis with his installations.
That's really incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, he's going to be working on that from 3D. Pretty cool.
It is Friday, January 11th. It's cold outside. It's a perfect day for National Hot Toddy Day.
And with the lack of snow we've had around, it's also National Step in a Puddle and Splash Your Friend Day.
And it's National Milk Day. We celebrate milk today because on this date, in 1878, the first milk in glass bottles were delivered to homes in New York City. Louis Pasteur developed pasteurization in the 1860s, removing harmful bacteria from milk. 85% of the world's milk comes from cows. So that leaves 15% from other sources.
Goats from a cow.
Yaks.
All kinds of milk out there.
Right.
Coconut. All so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, a little hot toddy might be the trick tonight.
Yep, so far things are going to be staying a little bit on a milder note for this time of the year. No snow in the meantime, but your full forecast coming up next.
Friday.
And we started out with some sunshine earlier, but now things are very gray here in South Central Wisconsin. Today's weather words, living on the edge. That's right. This cloud cover, again, on the edge of another snow system that will miss us mainly to the south. Although high temperatures today did stay below freezing. 28 is as warm as we've been able to get. Oddly enough, that is where we are right now. Back to the south and west. Iowa City 33, Des Moines at 35, and they are going to be picking up some snow as we go through the next 24 hours. It'll be, oh, so close. Still, though, temperatures, oddly enough, warmer than where they should be for this time of the year. It feels cold because we have been so spoiled, but we're still looking at temperatures, folks, that are well above average. 28 right now, winds still out of the south at 11 miles per hour, and those winds are going to be staying out of the south for the rest of tonight before becoming more southeasterly tomorrow. Still, that's allowed temperatures to be 3 degrees warmer than they were at this time yesterday, 5 degrees warmer than yesterday as you get towards parts of north central Illinois. And again, temperatures right now still mainly in the 20s and 30s for just about all of us here. But we're watching that cloud cover move on in, and just south of Des Moines, you see just a little bit of snow starting to come into the picture. Expect that to increase for our friends to the south and west later on. But here's the system across the country, and if you've been following this at all, St. Louis is about to get hammered with what will likely be a pretty historic snowfall event for them in the past 2 hours. They have gone from no snow at all to pretty much whiteout conditions throughout the St. Louis metro. So they are really getting in on something that we will not experience here, at least going through the next week or so. Here's the deal. Winter storm warnings stretching all the way from Cincinnati back through Kansas City. Winter weather advisories on either side of that. If you're going to northern Illinois through the next couple of days or parts of Iowa, you will run into some snowfall. And in fact, we are looking at a lot of snowfall for a lot of those spots. And here's just one model putting this into motion as to how much snow could be seen for some of our friends to our south going through Sunday. But that storm system will track its way across the Ohio Valley. We're going to be covered up with high pressure that's keeping things dry for us through a large part of the weekend. In fact, taking you hour by hour, things will fall into the 20s overnight tonight. You'll see the snow very close to the south and west, but staying south of us into tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures should top out into the lower 30s. Then we repeat the process on Sunday. Still some cloud cover, maybe a little bit more sunshine into your Sunday as well. But again, temperatures topping out into the lower 30s, then gradually warming up as we head into the next work week before a little bit of a cool down finally comes in here. And temperatures, though, still are trending above average. That's because that colder air up in Canada has been locked up for a while, but there are signs that as we get you closer towards the end of January, we'll see that colder air work its way on into town. That could lead to a stormier pattern over the eastern half of the country and perhaps even some additional snow chances for us. We'll watch it, but during that same time frame with the colder air coming in, we do have a chance to be above normal when it comes to precipitation. So that's something that we are, of course, going to keep a very close eye on. Tonight, temperatures right around 28 degrees. Again, a few flurries possible. Tomorrow, 34, a chance of light snow mainly south of town for us. But for the most part, we're going to be staying dry going through the new work week. Temperatures close to 40 on some of the days there, Monday and Tuesday. To be exact, the next chance for some snow actually comes into the picture as we get you towards next weekend. So we'll be watching that as we go through the next week because all of the days in between will be rather quiet.
Bad news for snow lovers.
Bad news for snow lovers, I know. But
except for your friends in Kentucky.
All of these snow lovers here have just been banding together, hoping. I need people to do a snow dance or something.
It'll happen.
There's a lot of winter left.
It'll happen.
There is.
Yeah.
I hear it happens through April here. So.
May. You never know.
Man.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll head to the movies when Live at 4 continues. We'll check out on the basis of sex.
It is the Ruth Bader Ginsburg story on the big screen. We'll have a preview when Live at 4 continues. lot of open water
Yeah,
on
there
Lake
is.
Mendota. That's a live picture of the UW Memorial Union waiting for the students to return from winter break.
This weekend they'll be coming back?
Yep. The new movie On the Basis of Sex looks at the early years of a famous, even notorious judge.
David Daniel looks at this new Ruth Bader Ginsburg biopic.
You think you can change the country? You should look to her generation. They're taking to the streets.
Protests are important, but changing the culture means nothing if the law doesn't change.
What did you say your name was?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Felicity Jones plays the future Supreme Court Justice in On the Basis of Sex.
There's a certain amount of nervousness that comes with playing someone who's so beloved, who's such an extraordinary icon, who really stands apart from a lot of other people. I think that's what makes her so special, is that she's someone who hasn't been driven by money or fame. She's been driven by her beliefs and her integrity.
You've been ready for this your whole life.
Armie Hammer plays her husband, Martin Ginsburg, who finds the case that launches her crusade into court.
It could topple the whole damn system of discrimination.
Felicity is one of the hardest working, most dedicated and professional actors I've ever worked with. And she brought it every single day, from the beginning of the day to the end, in every single take. I don't know that I've really shared a scene with someone who approaches it with the same tenacity as she does.
Remind you of anyone?
The word woman does not appear even once in the U.S. Constitution.
Nor does the word freedom, Your Honor.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
On the Basis of Sex opens today, and good news for the real RGB.
She got a clean bill of health today from doctors. She'll be back to work.
That is good news.
It is.
Well, still to come at 4, When You Believe, You Can Fly. That's the tagline for the Broadway musical, Finding Neverland.
The touring production of the musical is currently at Overture. Michael Bruno goes backstage of this magical story when Live at 4 continues.
And it is, of course, the evening commute time. Right now, we are looking at East Wash at Highway 30, and for the most part, traffic is moving along. We don't really see any major slowdowns across town today. There's a few slow spots anywhere between about Monona Drive back towards John Nolan as we speak. Headed towards downtown, John Nolan, and again on East Wash heading out of town. That is where we are seeing most of the traffic as of now. But zooming out across Dane County, for the most part, things are moving smoothly once you get outside of the city. Let's head down towards our friends in Janesville, and even you guys have at least a few trouble spots out there when it comes to the traffic, but for the most part, things do continue to run smoothly as we head through the evening commute time. You would think some folks are still on vacation, but for the most part, once you get onto the Beltline, things are cruising along at the usual speeds with no major crashes or delays. Guys?
All right, Chris, thank you.
Unusual for a Friday.
Yeah, that is good to see. The Broadway musical Finding Neverland is inspired by the 1998 play The Man Who Was Peter Pan and the Oscar-winning movie of the same name. The musical played on Broadway for 17 months.
Now the road production has hit the Overture Theater stage. Our own Peter Pan, Michael Bruno, goes backstage of Finding Neverland.
The doctor could save only just one life from pain and from misery. That's what I want to be. I would sail all around the world in life, a discovery that is the life for me. If I could write every single day, I would write all my cares away. I'd be leading a different life, a wonderful life.
There are 6 boys. Each of us play 2 or 3 parts. I play 3 parts. I play George, Peter, and Jack. And during the rehearsal process, trying to learn all 3 parts was kind of difficult because one day, as soon as you think you have one part down and you know all the lines and you have all the blocking, the next day you're doing a different part and it's completely different.
What you wanna be.
Did you have to learn how to play the ukulele?
I did have to learn how to play the ukulele. The first 3 weeks of rehearsal was a lot of repetition of just going through the music and the song and learning all the chords and trying to play them without looking, and also having fun during the song because it's kind of a cheering up song for Peter.
I noticed that there's a lot of choreography in the show as well. So how difficult is that to think, okay, well, I'm playing this part, so I have to do this dance move in this part of the stage, then all of a sudden I have to play this kid doing that dance move on that side of the stage.
It is very difficult, especially in the dinner party scene. There's a 20 to 30 second dance break in the middle of it, and each of the parts has relatively the same movement, yet it's either flip-flopped or reversed or facing a different way or with a different person. So that also contributes to the trying to learn different parts.
Did you always want to be in musical theater? Was that like a dream of yours for like years and years and years?
I actually started doing musical theater when I was 6 or 7. So through those 7 years, I was always I loved musical theater. I loved the thought of singing and pretending to be someone else and having that mindset of I'm not myself anymore and I just get to portray this role of a different character.
Once the tour is over with this one, do you think you're going to audition for another tour, or will you go back to school and just kind of leave the normal life of a kid?
There is a possibility that at the end of the tour, they could add another 4 months to the contract, or after I end the tour, they could ask me to be on another tour or show. But I do plan on just kind of staying in normal school and living a normal life. At my age, there's not really any other parts for me to play with, like going through the voice change and growing. It's just kind of that stage where there's not really many parts that you can play right now. So it'll be a nice break of theater after this.
That is an impressive young man.
He's from Manitowoc?
He's from Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Impressive, Ethan. He's just a wonderful little kid. A little kid. He's like a 30-year-old trapped in a 14-year-old body.
How did he get cast in this?
He sent in his audition tape. His parents had actually taken him to see the show in New York. and they took a picture of him behind the marquee. And a year to the day that he took the picture, he got the casting call to come back, and he was cast in the Road show.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
Really serendipitous that they'd seen the show, and then he was the first kid in his family to get Road show.
Play 3 different roles. Wow.
Yeah, he actually plays 3 different roles, 3 different kids in the show. They alternate with the kids in there.
All right, it's at Overture Center. Finding Neverland through Sunday. Go to overture.org for showtimes and ticket information. And next week?
Next week, it's Heisenberg at Forward Theater at the Overture.
Quantum physics.
Yes,
the musical.
Drama. A musical, a little lighthearted musical.
Have a good weekend.
See you then, Michael. Thank you.
And happy anniversary. 7 years.
You
here on the show, yes.
7 years?
7 years.
Boy, time flies when you're having fun. Yeah. Thanks, hon.
We'll be right back.
We're doing
No snow for you.
Unless you want to drive to Iowa.
No, thanks.
Okay, well, I'll do that, and I'll just go ahead and soak up the snow. I'll let you know how it is.
All right, take a picture.
28 degrees tonight. We might see at least some flurries. Headed into tomorrow, that's possible as well. Most of that will be south of Madison. Temperatures will top out right around 34 degrees, but the reality is you are planning your day with plenty of cloud cover for your Saturday.
All right, no travel problems here.
No travel problems
here.
here.
Have fun in Iowa. Coming up Monday on Live at 4, we're going behind the wheel with Harvey Briggs. We'll find out what he thinks of the top-of-the-line edition of the Mazda CX-5.
The company is hoping to break into the luxury market with this new crossover. Harvey will join us on Monday on Live at 4. Well, it's been another busy week for Lola and Louie in the world headquarters.
It's the best animal stories of the week in the Lowdown. This week on the Lowdown, calling all monkeys.
A brand new polar bear.
And a squeaking otter.
But first, extremely rare baby bilby triplets have emerged from their mother's pouch at the Dream World Wildlife Refuge in Australia. The pitter-patter of the tiny bilby paws is melting the hearts of visitors. These adorable 3-month-old bilbies will be named shortly. Their adoption brings the number of bilbies at the refuge to 14. Bilbies once spread widely across Australia's desert, but now are down to only 20% of their former population.
Speaking of babies, the Berlin Zoo released new footage of their latest polar bear offspring. The cub finally opened its eyes and now has a daily routine of sleeping, cuddling, and drinking. Mama polar bear Tanja gave birth to her cub on December 1st of last year. Tanja and her cub won't leave their enclosure until this spring, when they'll meet the public for the first time.
We've heard of a telephone party line, but this party is a bunch of monkey business. A woman in Japan captured this video of more than a dozen monkeys crossing her yard on utility lines. The woman says it's not unusual to see monkeys in her front yard.